Okay, it's 1 o'clock, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thank you for coming on this beautiful day. And first of all, are there any additional items for the agenda? Does anyone want to add anything to the agenda?
First of all, Margaret Bortz isn't here, so we don't have a secretary.
I intend, she said she's coming, so
Right.
She may be held up with traffic.
Well, I'm just saying there's nobody keeping the minutes right now.
Yeah, that'll be me again.
Okay.
Yeah. So are there any additional?
Yeah, there was a special meeting that we had.
Okay,
that was
so
called,
like to add a special meeting.
and I thought we'd bring that up under new business, but you received the information that we put out, but that's a letter.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, the minutes I have provided for you. So, are there any corrections to the minutes, or are they?
I see 2 corrections.
Okay,
Back page, I already have second page, top paragraph. Parking lot has been power washed and sealed. It was requested to be power washed and sealed.
oh, I thought it had
And
been
that's,
done.
no, and that's in
Okay.
Rebecca's notes this meeting. When we called to find out where are we on this timeline, they've actually said we don't have money in the budget. We're deferring it to 25.
Okay,
And she has that. And then farther down of the Friends group, PCLV is PCBL. Twist of a couple letters.
it should be PCBL.
BL, yes.
Okay, anything else? All right, with those 2 corrections, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any other discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, correspondence, Alan? Any correspondence you're aware of?
No, unless she's put something in her, Rebecca's put something in
Well.
her report. But I don't have anything
Okay.
additional that I can recall.
Okay. All right, any public comment?
Not at this time.
Okay, Alan, you're acting on Rebecca's.
Oh, yes, yep, and her report's here. I guess my only thought and comment in seeing it, and on her first page, under Wi-Fi, 3/4 the way across, that top chart, you'll see that they have started increasing. We have changed the way that is counted. The old system, antiquated, basically, was not, we knew it wasn't counting right based on people coming in and knowing it, but it was the way the county had it set up. They have now changed the way that software for it, they've installed it, and now it can count 3 different ways. I don't know that I can explain those 3 ways, but it's based off the which Wi-Fi they're on, because we have more than one connection to Wi-Fi. So
Oh, you have
yes.
several?
Yeah. So it counts all the different ones that it comes on, and she even has the report that Lily, the head IT lady, sends her. So that's a change in the software, so we have better counts.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, we knew it was wrong, and to say what these were, if you go back and a couple of years and look at them, they were a lot worse than that. So, yeah.
Well, that's
But
good.
they changed the software for us, and now we have better counts.
Okay, good. And we still have no update on when they're going to be working on those doors?
No, that did not go through their meeting yesterday. Even though,
I thought it was
even though a
approved.
few meetings ago, they said that they had talked with a contractor, who would do the work.
Uh-huh,
But
thought
they
that's what
have
it
not put out
a bid or
whether they're
something?
gonna put out a request for bid or they're gonna simply take their bid and do it. Don't know, but nothing has been in the commissioners' meetings since that date.
I'm fairly certain they approved that bid, so.
I thought they did.
Oh, they did approve it? Okay.
I'm
I
pretty
thought,
They bypassed the RFP, and I do remember they said they had a bid.
Because they couldn't get
Hit
anybody.
a dollar.
No, that's what they said at first.
Yeah, I know.
I think it was somebody up in Rochester or something?
Yep, somewhere up there, so I don't
So
think
maybe
anything
in-
So
has
yeah,
been done
we haven't been informed
Okay.
of anything about it,
okay.
so.
Okay, does anyone else have a question or a comment on the report? Rebecca's report?
I thought it looked like the programming was drawing pretty good numbers, some of them anyway.
Okay.
I'll just comment, Rebecca
Was
had to
that-
be out on an
which
appointment with her,
Oh, I'm sorry.
one of her children down to Danville, so that's why she's not here today. She had to get it to the specialist while she could.
Yeah, this, thank you.
Alan, do you remember that leaps and bounds story time? The significance of that one that had a number of 30? Was that some kind of a special program? It was in August
They
13th.
came specially down themselves. They brought their group in. They're
Oh,
a daycare.
Oh, they're a daycare?
They're a daycare,
Okay.
came down
See,
themselves.
I don't know all those
Yep,
things.
no, they're a daycare.
And what about the foundation story time with 59 children? That must have been really packed.
There's actually 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, the 59 and the 30 and then foundations before. Is that an organization that comes in or, because they had, hi Margaret. Welcome, your folder's up there.
And this is for
63, that's why I wondered what yeah, this is fine, sure.
I don't know that.
Okay, I just wondered.
I'm wondering if it was
You know.
one of Dwight's.
Yep, it's
But
just
it-
that those are really good
Yes.
programs, you know,
Yes.
63 is really, you know, a
Yes.
good amount of children.
I don't know what that one is.
And 18, okay. All right, so we'll move on to the financial report. Okay, Alan, do you, did you look it over the financial report? Any concerns or Alan, are we like on schedule,
On the,
adequate
yeah. on the main part of
scheduling? We're
things,
not
sure.
like going over in anything or
No.
have a
In most
shortage.
cases, we're under.
We're under.
Yeah, as we should be, but yeah.
So everything,
Nothing alarming. They do
No.
have,
no concerns then?
and I just haven't got the call made on the second page, 411.
411?
411, yep.
Okay,
000.
maintenance, material and
Maintenance,
supplies.
materials and supplies, we
Yeah.
have no budget, and they put something against us. My opinion is they took something that was a maintenance expense and put it on us rather than put it into maintenance.
Do you think it could have been the
We don't have a
gardening?
budget.
Do you think it could have been the mulching, the gardening work that was done out front?
Again, that's a
364.
I'm
maintenance
wondering if
expense,
it
not our
wasn't
expense.
the sink issue.
Oh, it could have been sink repair.
Once again, that's a maintenance expense, not our
But they
expense.
didn't give.
We don't have a budget,
Okay.
so it doesn't belong on us. A few years ago, the head financial guy in between Joan and Dan tried putting all that stuff on us. Flares went up, that stopped. Why there's one on here this time, I don't know. I haven't asked Dan what it's for and why it's on our budget versus where it belongs. You can see the year before they had 801 on there. Now and then they just do. But maintenance is not the library's, it's the county's.
Okay, anything else? All right. Okay, bookmobile report. And I see he's here today.
He's back, yep. He's back. He just got back a little while ago.
Let's see, 12 o'clock, and he's one of them right after I do.
Okay.
Or no, it'd be later than that because it's only 25.
Yeah, he was pulling the bookmobile into the garage as I was getting out of my
Yeah,
car.
it's here,
Yeah.
as I pulled him.
Yeah, he's,
So I got here, what,
He got
about
back a
10
while ago.
hours or something?
He was back a little bit sooner than that. I think it may have been sitting outside.
Oh, and today he was to install a small drop station at the Ulster Rec Center.
yeah, he's doing a new one.
So
there.
he's doing that today, or completed it. It's completed, he says, on
Okay,
9/12.
okay.
So in the, that rec center, I think, has pretty good use in Ulster.
It
They
does.
have a lot of events there.
We use it
Right.
often.
Do you?
Yeah.
Skating, they have roller
Skating,
skating.
birthday parties,
Yeah, yeah.
summer camps, all kinds of things.
Yeah, so
Yeah, he's
that,
been
that's
talking
good.
with him for a few months, and getting something there.
So that's
So,
good,
Yep,
that's good. And then he's having this week something at Mount Pisgah
yeah.
on the 14th and Hornbrook Park on October 5th. And then maybe 2 or 3 more events that still need verification. So that's good. So everything going smoothly there as far as
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, he's, yep, with him and working it and, getting out to special event type things as
Yeah.
those. He's making quite a few and for most part having a decent attendance.
Good,
With people coming on board.
good. Well, that's all good to hear.
Yep.
Anyone have any questions, suggestions, comments about the bookmobile?
No, just keep it going.
Keep it going, yeah. I see the generator already needed repairs.
Yeah, and that
That was
was
a
a pretty big
surprise.
expense. I just paid it. They had to literally cut it out, the framework, cut it out to be able to do the work and then weld it back in.
Uh-huh.
$774, I think.
Unknown caller.
I just paid it, so.
Yeah.
A few days ago.
Okay.
Is that because of the use, I assume, right? You know, that they had.
A fan went bad on it,
Oh, okay.
so, yeah.
Part of
But
the.
couldn't get to it. It doesn't have a slide out,
Oh,
as sometimes they may build slide outs on generators.
so then
This
that,
one does not have. So,
All right, bylaws committee, you?
Yes, everybody's received a copy of the proposed bylaw changes that we came up with in our meetings, and I assume we would vote on them one by one. Or should we just
I think
look them over?
well, I think we need to open it for discussion. Margaret had replied and I had replied
Right.
to the group
Right,
about the concern of adding Zoom and making it that people had to be both visible and be heard and seen. And I've experienced many Zoom meetings. I don't have a camera on my computer, so I just always call into lots of boards. And many other people do. They don't always have the picture, the visual available.
Absolutely. I know at my house, if I try to do a Zoom, I can either have picture or audio, but not both. It's just I guess our bandwidth isn't strong enough at the house. So if I went to my office 35 minutes away, I would have a strong enough bandwidth, but that would kind of, I mean, so I think it happens, I think it happens, it just causes a lot of glitches. So it's kind of a start and stop for the meeting. I think that was the question. Is the concern, my concern with only visual, I mean, I guess I could, as a general concern, I'm personally not worried about it, but you wouldn't be able to see everybody who might be in that room
So in
on the
that,
Zoom meeting.
yeah,
Does that-
not only that, but like if I had to attend by Zoom, I only would be able to call up I wouldn't have a visual
Okay.
available.
But would the voice be heard by everyone?
Oh, yes.
I'll tell you why I
Yeah, the
asked.
voice would be heard by everybody, and I think you know, everybody has their different voice that is recognizable, you know. And so I thought the intent of how that was made is so that we were sure it was the particular person, because we have to see them and hear them. Whereas for most other boards, it doesn't include must be seen and heard, because due to certain circumstances, people don't always have the visual available, but they almost always can call up on the Zoom call. All Zoom calls have a call-in function, where even though you can't connect to the Zoom, and we might not be able to see you couldn't see us. Like in my case, I don't have a camera on my computer. But you could certainly hear me, and I could speak, I could vote on issues, etc. But the visual isn't usually part of it.
How would the caller's voice be heard in the meeting? Would it be
It still can be heard.
broadcast somehow?
It still can be
Or would
heard.
it come in through a telephone?
Well,
And I'll tell you why I ask. We went to the last systems board meeting, and there were 2 people that had called in and were only recognizable from what I could tell on Leah's phone. Now, I could actually see that there was a computer there where there occasionally were images, but I couldn't understand what the people were saying. So we were getting it secondhand through Leah. And
oh,
that's,
no, it should come into the computer. Whoever who's running the Zoom meeting has a laptop usually at the meeting.
It should be, like, you'll see
It
a,
comes in.
Well,
through
actually,
the-
on the,
TV.
if
Well, would
it's,
you need 2 laptops for 2 people?
No,
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 they can-
no,
No.
it comes in.
they just have a blank screen, as
Yeah.
far as I've been able, if it's a
Right.
Zoom meeting, it's just a blank screen. Because
Yeah.
my mom during COVID did that, I had to hook it up for her all the
Right,
time for different
right.
Penn State stuff.
Right,
And it's just a blank screen, and then they would say, Claire, are you still there? And she would say, mm-hmm.
Right.
And we've done it, one way that's not comfortable doing is, like, if we had a meeting like this, we do this at the Textile Museum. But somebody would call someone on my cell phone and put it on speaker, and we'd just be close by. But the problem that's different than Zoom, and the
yeah,
problem,
that's not Zoom.
well, no, you can hear it,
Yeah,
but the problem
yeah.
is you have to stop after every sentence and say, did you hear that? Did you get that? What's
Yeah,
your vote?
right,
Do you have an opinion? Because it's very easy to talk right over top of somebody on speakerphone.
Mhm.
But that was kind of because we had somebody in Wisconsin that didn't have Zoom She didn't use a computer.
Right, right. But I take it that Rebecca or whoever would set up the Zoom meeting, if it was necessary, would have a laptop, and they would have it here. And so when you call in, you are like a block, and it would say Marguerite Shaner. And it would not have a
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah, and it
Well,
would,
I was
Up
projected
there,
on
up
that,
there,
yeah.
but
it would be
however,
projected up.
yeah, yeah, right.
There have been
Actually,
some
that's-
glitches with that, though. Is that still glitching? Where it will just
There
cut
has
out?
been with playing movies,
Mm.
I don't know.
but I don't know if there's been other glitches. Movies are all I recall.
It's after
When
about a
Rebecca
half
uses
hour.
it, it works great for story time. It plays everything really nicely, usually. I mean,
Movie?
not movies, but like when she shows the kids like the online things. Like if she
Okay.
has a story that goes with that
So not
movie,
movies,
or
just things
not
that
a
are,
movie, just something,
that are
yeah, or
streaming somehow.
songs, or
Okay,
yeah, just multiple streaming
I think
things.
Okay.
So it could
like
be,
a half hour.
could be
They were-
shown on the
yeah.
wall, yeah.
There was like problems after like a half hour or an hour or something. like
Well, at first it was a fairly long period of time, but from what I'm told, it kept getting shorter and shorter.
with our Zoom, there shouldn't be, the friends have paid for the Zoom, or we're using the friends Zoom, and it is unlimited in time. It's not, you're joining a Zoom meeting, but hey, you've got 20 minutes, you're gonna get cut off.
Mhm.
Yeah, it depends on
we're-
your
Yeah,
subscription.
we're just talking
Yes.
about the projector part.
Yeah.
I
Right.
wouldn't worry about video in your bylaws. because
Yeah.
Audio is,
Well, we also say, or other electronic means.
yeah.
So, that's why I'm saying cell phones would not be a good idea. To put somebody's cell phone on the table or something.
It's completely impractical.
Yes,
It's very
yeah, right,
problematic.
right,
I
yeah,
just,
right, yeah.
that was all we
No,
had.
I'm just referring to the Zoom, the call-in number that comes with the Zoom, that we shouldn't have it in the bylaws that it has to be visual, seen and heard.
Well-
I think the seen could be taken out. Must ensure that they can be heard by the other board members and other attendees.
What if we change the language to say, seen to be present, which mean that you wouldn't visually have to see it, but you would see that they were connected because it would be a block with their name on it, even though you couldn't see their face.
I am not familiar with the technology,
because
so I don't know enough about it
Okay.
to say that would be, if you can tell definitely that the person is there
Yeah, right.
and their voice is there,
Right.
but
I can comment on
I
that.
don't know.
You want to comment on this, Mr.
Yeah,
Wood?
you're familiar with some of the
Yeah, so
rest
with
of
Zoom,
this.
you can be visual or, you can do all kinds of different things, but I wouldn't worry about the visual part of it.
No.
Sometimes it can cause more problems. I'd make sure about the audio part,
Right,
and as long as you know their voice and they can identify themselves,
Right.
that should be more than enough.
Yeah.
wasn't there one commissioners meeting where Mr. McClinkle called in on a phone?
Yep, you can
And
absolutely
and
call
they
it.
just broadcast the
It needs to
sound,
be
but
projected.
there was no,
Yeah.
right, there was no
No
visual.
picture.
There was no
Yeah.
visual.
There was another
It
time
was on the
when he
conference.
was both visible and able to be heard.
I think that was the solicitor. I know one time they did visual because he called in through the Zoom.
I remember one time there was a commissioner's
Oh, was
meeting
there
where
a
one of the
commissioner?
commissioners was,
No.
Traveling,
I-
somebody
yeah.
traveling,
probably
perhaps.
like
Yeah.
6 months ago or something
Yeah.
like that, a few months ago.
Yeah. So the requirement under the Sunshine Act is everybody in the room needs to be able to hear the person, and the person needs to be able to hear everybody in the room,
Right.
and not just the board members, anybody in the
Who
room.
makes a comment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just audio, that's all the Sunshine Act
Yeah,
cares about.
right.
Your only issue can get into if you don't have a quorum without the person that's on the other line, and they disconnect.
Yeah.
Your
They have to
quorum's
be-
lost.
Yeah, they have to be present. for
So
the-
you should make in your bylaw that your quorum always has to be physically available unless there is a.
Well, that
an
was
emergency.
something we were going to address and we never did.
I think I sent you a link on,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
okay,
read it.
I couldn't remember.
But we said we were going to take that up, and then from my memory, we kind of got into the weeds about this. And then this was the only thing we could come up with. And we said we would address it at a later date.
I don't know, I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of any link that you guys share.
Yeah,
So if we could change that
so we could
sentence.
just drop the words "and heard."
Yeah, I think so. Can be seen by the, or can be
Or
heard.
And heard.
Heard, yeah.
Can be heard, right, I'm
Heard,
sorry.
right. So can be heard by the other board members and any other attendees.
Okay.
All right.
So
I know-
everyone in the room must be able to be heard by board members and other attendees, and just drops, and that would be, I'm just taking it for the notes, I'm not
Yeah,
putting it in the
right,
actual
right, yeah.
bylaws.
I mean, I assume that you would be projecting it, because otherwise the meeting really isn't effective. If it's not projected and you
Yeah,
can hear
well,
and or see and that, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes a cell phone's loud enough if it's a good enough cell phone.
It depends.
Yeah, it really
A lot of
depends.
times you have to have, a speaker.
Right.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
so it's really smart if the library has that system to be able to, project,
Yeah. if the library knows ahead of time that somebody needs to call in.
Yeah, yeah. If we would, probably in future times, it would be like, if you intend to attend by Zoom, please notify the library, several days ahead of the meeting, so that they could be prepared to have that set up,
Mhm.
just as like a courtesy, that
Would that be all right?
if you knew you were gonna,
Projection is fine, hearing is fine. What I don't know is speaking back from the room. When you
oh,
have,
you can hear
you
well.
have, you have one laptop that's doing the projection and being the Zoom here in your meeting. somebody at another location, can they hear what's being said?
Yes, they can.
Yeah,
That's my
that
They
part
can.
they can.
Yeah,
They can? Okay.
I've experienced it so
All right.
many times with other boards that, yeah, there's no difficulty.
Because you're not all sitting at a computer
Yeah, but you can
yourself
hear.
at a laptop in a meeting. I've been in many Zoom meetings, but everybody is sitting in front of their own laptop talking
Mhm.
right there with it.
Yeah.
So, in a meeting such as this, I don't know that answer myself.
Well, we had one here with Leah
Okay,
one day, a Zoom meeting,
Uh-huh,
so, and it worked fine.
yeah,
okay.
no difficulties,
No.
yeah.
Was it on a laptop?
She had it on a laptop, but it was on,
It was projected,
projected on the wall.
and the audio was fine, right?
Yes.
And was it audio and visual or just
Yes.
audio?
I don't know about
Yes,
that.
there was audio and visual. It was just, what you saw was what was on her screen,
Yeah, but it was projected.
but it was
Yeah.
projected up there.
And then the audio was from the computer itself, it wasn't audio from.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure, but everybody can be heard.
Typically,
back to
in a room
that
this size,
computer.
it's not a problem.
Okay,
I have a question, because it doesn't say it in here, but I'm assuming, I don't want to assume that I know the answer. Can a member of the public that wishes to speak request to attend by Zoom, or is it just board members? I know that's kind of getting into some hairy stuff, but as long as we're discussing it.
Well, that would be something we should probably talk about in a bylaw meeting.
So it's not
I mean,
necessarily,
it's
it's not
an
something.
addition to the bylaws that does not exist at this time. So
Fair enough.
probably that's better to be brought up at
Question withdrawn.
future time.
So. I'm not
Well,
gonna-
it's, the meetings are published, you know, they only have to publish them once a year.
Right.
So those are published. But we haven't had Zoom meetings previously, and we haven't routinely set up any Zoom meetings. So maybe that would be something going forward. We would only set up a Zoom meeting if, you know, one of the members of the board said they could only attend by Zoom. So whether or not you would, because Zoom meetings, each meeting is different numbers, you know, and so that would have to somehow continually be advertised, each new Zoom meeting with the call-in, the meeting code, the passcode. So I don't know about that. That would be another, to the solicitor question,
Yeah.
which you know how
Right.
successful you've been in that. So I don't know if you want to consider any other changes. Are there any other changes, any of you, as they've been sent to you by the mail and also emailed? No one else got back to you on it? Any other recommendations?
I think the rest of them, we were all pretty much in agreement with. This Zoom thing was the trickiest
Yeah.
part we had to deal with.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't have any problems with the rest
So we
of
do
them.
have a quorum today. Is there, do you think we would like to vote on adopting these? I have that in the agenda.
Yes,
As modified, that we took out
We
those
took
couple
out
of
two
words?
yeah.
Okay. All right, is there someone who'd like to make a motion to adopt the bylaws as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Margaret? Any further discussion on the bylaws as presented? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
How many said aye?
Pardon?
You have to have more than a majority, right?
Yeah, I heard,
We just had a
I
full.
couldn't
they
hear.
were quiet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I will say aye.
I would-
Aye.
Yeah.
So we have all six.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, system board, Carol, you?
We had the Samuel Gailey book signing down at the
Yes.
Keystone here recently,
Mhm.
and that was well attended. And the only problem was that, well, there were two problems. The books didn't arrive, so there was no
Yeah.
signing of the books, or
Mhm.
purchasing of any books. And it was hard to hear because the mics were too far away from the
Yeah.
speakers. So I guess, Marguerite, you have talked with Leah, and I
Yeah,
also
I sent a
discussed
note
it
to
with her.
Leah, since I'm hearing impaired. I even asked the gentleman who did go up the aisle, the sound technician at the theater, And the problem was that they had one mic on a cocktail table, and it was facing the lady from WVIA, who was a good speaker anyway. And so it was not facing the author, so you couldn't really hear very well. Now, people that have great hearing probably didn't strain. I missed a lot of what he said. So
I did too.
I said they should be mic'd individually.
She asked for comment for a news release, and I said, no, I didn't hear well enough to do that.
Right, yeah, me too.
And then this past Sunday, they had the voting event for an elected officials at a gala at the theater. I did not attend, so I'm not sure how many people showed up for that.
There was a picture in the Daily Review.
Yeah. Coming up on October 12th is Global Big Day Birding event at Pisgah. And October 18th is Saul staff training, as was in Rebecca's report there. So all libraries in the county are closed that day on October 18th. I think I mentioned before, I'm not sure that I mentioned that in July there were new limits set on the amount of hoopla materials that people may subscribe to. It's gone down to 10 now, I believe.
10 a month.
10 a month, yeah. And we are at a $10,000 over budget at this point, so they're looking to see where they can get that deficit money from. There should have been a budget meeting with the commissioners held on the 26th. I don't know if that happened. Leah is still working to get a memo of understanding in writing, which she has not been able to get yet. There was a discussion regarding the system joining the Bradford County Chamber of Commerce. Leah is going to bring back more information on that at another time. And there was somewhat of a discussion about fundraising, and she gave a clarification indicating that that would only be done with a mission to provide assets for all the libraries in the county, not as just for the system, but just not to interfere with individual library funding events.
So is there any plan to go ahead with anything at this time? Or
Not that I'm aware.
No.
She didn't, I don't mention it. I requested that Hugh be added to as an alternate to the alternate representative from our library, so that when I could not attend, he could. And Leah said she would pursue that with the commissioners. And she's also going to try to clarify or have changed in the bylaws to have maybe 2 representatives from every library.
They thought if they could just do it as like a roll call thing for each library, and
Right. Yeah.
you know, someone was present. I did submit my application to the commissioners in person several weeks ago, and I thought it might be on yesterday's agenda, but it wasn't, and I asked, and they said that they did have the application, and so they just haven't done
Acted
anything
on.
with it.
Thought and reference 2 per library.
But still one vote.
Only one vote.
One
Yeah,
vote.
I'm right there, yes. Because at any given meeting, some libraries could have 2 and others could have 1, but yeah, it should be 1 vote.
It's just
Sorry.
one
just
vote.
one.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
It's just so that the other would be an authorized
We
vote
frequently have
for each library.
2 from one library.
Correct.
You know, I don't know if it's Sayre or Athens, I think.
Sayre.
Yeah, I
Sayre.
think Sarah.
Sarah.
Yeah, but only one of them votes if there's anything to vote on.
Yep.
And Hugh, do you have anything else to add?
Did you mention I have to look through my notes. There was something about some money that was available. Was something about the coordination aid?
County coordination aid? you comment?
Yeah. There's something about 1,000 from PA and 300 from the county. I had that in my notes.
Okay.
From the Library Association of Pennsylvania?
I
or the-
assume so, yes. she moved pretty quickly. So
I know she
Some days.
speaks very rapidly.
So all I wrote was coordination aid, 1,000 from PA and 300 from the county. And I don't know that she addressed it in her minutes, so at least I don't
Well,
remember seeing it.
sometimes it's even hard from her minutes to determine what really was,
Exactly happened.
Oh,
you get what you can on your way through.
There was something also about how they'd already used up, I don't know if you mentioned that.
The hoopla money,
It might have been
10,000.
hoopla.
over budget by 10,000 on hoopla.
What's Hoopla?
Hoopla is an online, it's great, it has thousands of books,
Okay.
magazines, movies, ebooks, audiobooks. You'll want to join, your mom will love it,
Okay.
and you'll love it. That's how I read
Yeah,
all
we
my
talked
books.
about it last meeting.
Yeah, yeah, and there's probably a pamphlet out there at the main center.
Okay, that sounds great.
And it's really great. You download a book like in, I don't know, 10 seconds or something like that.
okay.
It's just marvelous, yeah.
Okay, so it's like a library Kindle, but better.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, much better.
Okay, excellent.
Because
it's
if you
publications, too,
if you have a smart TV, you can hook it to your TV
Nice.
electronically, and then there's all kinds of movies, I'm sure you.
Kids love it.
It's
Just use your library card to get in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
And once you're set up with your library card, that's it. You're
Okay.
set up.
you're set up,
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
okay.
it's great. You'll want to do that.
I will, yeah, I just got Mom a new TV and it's a smart TV, so
Yeah,
we
oh,
don't use
it'll be-
cable, so she
it'll
would
be
love that,
perfect.
yeah, it's perfect. What a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is. It's wonderful.
Terry and Rebecca can best help you, how's that?
Yeah. Terry's very good, and
I know she is.
Terry's very good. She's very good. Okay, Friends Group, do we have any information? How about you? Anything
Yes,
from the Friends Group?
Well, since the July 23rd, I believe it was, presentation, there have been no meetings. I'm told that they were going to have an organizational meeting, executive session.
Uh-huh. So
sometime soon,
no information.
but no date set that I'm aware of, and no open meetings scheduled at this
Okay.
time.
Okay, any other unfinished business? Okay, under new business, Margaret, we had added your
Thank you.
special meeting. So we'll talk about your special meeting, and a copy of the minutes are included in your packet.
Okay, fantastic, let me just catch up with this real quick.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, thanks for patience. Okay, so, just as a brief aside, funny thing that happened. As you all know, we run a veterinary clinic, and a lot of it is trap, neuter, return. And we just received a whole lot of newspapers that we were lining traps with. And your commissioners meeting where all of this was discussed, I read it over and over and over while I was lining it. And I always, I know this makes me sound a little strange for the camera, but when you do that for 80 to 100 cats over the course of a day, you start getting a little loopy in your head, and you start thinking about what the cats might enjoy reading. And so I was like, oh good, you can read about the library. Oh, maybe you want the comics section. Oh, you don't look like a sports guy, you know? So anyway, but I saw that and I thought, oh my God, I didn't read that. I let my electronic subscription lapse because I didn't have time to read it, and I need to reestablish with all of that because there was no way I would leave too early in the morning and it's dark and I don't usually go home and get the newspaper, and it doesn't, anyway. So it's, yeah, that was kind of funny. So I saw that and I thought, what? He did this, why did we do this? So we met and we spoke last week, and I think it reiterated a lot of things. I mean, there was tautology present for certain with all of this. I think the idea was to try and give it a last go to convince, maybe not a last go, but an ongoing persuasion to convince the commissioners of the importance of what's going on here. And Alan was kind enough to prepare several scenarios that people have seen, and this was a first for me, and not for, but it was several scenarios of cutting hours and what that did, and that there were concerns present. That there were concerns present for, obviously I laid it out here as just as quickly as possible, so everybody's read through it so they understand, and most of it, and it was the idea of closing for a complete day, like how the library is set up now with its hours is of benefit, and it seems like it would be very difficult and of minimal saving of minimal financial saving to carve 8 hours out, or a day, or 12. I guess they're asking for 11 or 12 hours to be cut out of.
20 actually, because
56 to
Well,
45.
65
they
to
have some
45.
45.
Okay, 45.
That's
So
what they're
cutting,
aiming for, but
Yeah.
cutting.
we're trying to prove differently.
Yeah, and I feel I saw that yesterday. One of the things that Commissioner McClinko had said was, and I was sorry that I didn't get to attend it, but we were slammed and I couldn't leave. I tried, but I wanted to be there at the commissioners meeting yesterday. But Commissioner McClinko said that good government eliminates waste, and it would be my contention that greater government acknowledges educational institutions and the importance to them within the community. And I would like to think of Bradford County as having a greater government. And that would be my, should we discuss as a board, because this obviously was only 4 members of a board, it was not the complete board, so we cannot speak as a total of whole board. We can only speak as a partial board. That we are at a skeletal situation. To cut it even more is I'm afraid would be the beginning of a slow slide and spiral into less and less services and being less importance to the commissioner's constituents, but our citizens and the people that we serve as board members and also as staff members for the library. I think it was shown, I do think that it was shown last year without question by the library staff and board and community and the county residents that this is very important to them, and that the hours that stand, I can speak myself to the commuters' hours being invaluable. Once I'm locked into the clinic, the chances of me getting out of there are almost nil. There's always something that happens. It's anything. And I don't. And I do realize that they want to try and cut it, but the small amount that the library takes from the county budget is less than 1% anyway, and to take it even more just to get a minimal amount to prove a point, or to say, well, we're going to do this, and please forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn. I'm speaking from my heart, not as a member for the. My heart is a little dramatic. I'm speaking from my own head and not for the entire group. These were my concerns. They had stated, and I went back and found where they stated several times, the commissioners, that they were going to preserve the status quo, and we would like to ask them to keep to that, just until the library consultant has finished their work and made their report. And if at that point we've got an impartial chosen person that says, well, we don't really need that, I guess we would have to honor our agreement to listen to that. I'm not, it's a supposition. I'm not making a statement for the board or the community, but to take it my thought would be to take it back, take the consultant's report and open it up to public discussion. And if people care enough, they'll show up to a meeting and they'll discuss it. And it might be a long, contentious meeting, and then again, maybe nobody will show up. I would hope that they would. I would hope that they would show up to speak to what they believe in. So with these last 5 points, that the existing budget would stand through 2025, I feel that if the position of director, if we're sticking with the status quo, then the library needs a director. I think she is qualified. I personally think, I don't know her on a personal level. I only know her through this business level of the library. I feel that she's exhibited that she knows what she's doing and she can handle the position. It wouldn't change the existing budget. I think that an assistant director, it's necessary. Maybe I would suggest that, again, adhering to the status quo, they keep the title. But it could be posted, and we discussed that it could be filled at the starting rate. And an assistant director position in a county library that would handle adult programming and collections growth is, I think we talked a little bit about whether or not that could be filled by someone with a bachelor's in library science and not necessarily a master's. And so you could do the starting rate and you wouldn't have to go, they might save a little bit of money.
Yeah,
but
I don't know what
it's-
the job description
I have no idea. I haven't seen
entails.
them. Yeah.
But
Well-
some of these jobs are handled at other libraries with not even a degree.
Yeah, but they don't. Yeah, and that's true. It's true. I think-
But I don't
That's
know
true,
what's in
and
this
I want
particular
to interject here, if I may.
Yes.
It is for a MLS position, so a master's degree.
Is necessary.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
correct.
Thank you.
The system in itself and overall requirement based on population from the state requires 3 MLS degrees in the library system.
Mm.
What I don't know, and I'll tell you what I believe too, in saying that, can an MLS librarian, a librarian or any employee in any of the other libraries count as a third librarian? When we are the headquarters library, the county is responsible for that. My opinion is the county has to hire 3 MLS librarians. That being
I think
Leah,
there are currently
that being Rebecca,
five.
and it would be replacing Jeff.
Yeah, I think there currently are 5.
If any one librarian that might have a degree out there in the other 8 libraries walks tomorrow, they're in violation. It's not the other libraries, it's the library here in the headquarters and the system.
Yeah, I'm not.
Therefore, to me, it's their requirement to hire 3 librarians. Maybe I'm blowing smoke, but
If they're
dig
5.
that out of the state if you can,
Okay.
because I don't know if you can dig it out of the state.
Yeah, it's under the.
They don't like coming forth and telling you things. All they do is say, here's the law. Go read it.
Which they've created.
And like any law.
And good luck. Yeah.
And how do you find what you're supposed to find?
Yeah.
And it says 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the proper thing? Well, we're asking an answer and they won't give you the proper thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean,
Well, I
It
don't
would be
know
great
that
if-
there actually are 5.
well, I'm being told there's a regulation in
In the
their
county,
code.
there are 5.
Yeah.
And I think it
The
says
code
in the
says
county.
45, the regulation
Not
says
necessarily in the
65.
Yeah.
But the code supersedes the regulation, although they are in the process of changing the regulation, and it's going to take 2 years to come up with whatever that answer is. I don't have the answer.
I actually had heard that the number of master degree required is 3.05. So is that 3 or is that 4? Because it can't be point.
If you're 50, you round out to 50, so.
It's
That's
based
a
upon
hand,
population.
a
so you do
hand
a
from
division
somebody.
and it comes out.
Somebody's hand.
Yeah.
It's always been 3.
I can only
so,
they have
you
to
know.
type it.
That's the
2,
hand
but-
that does the paperwork.
They base it upon the population of the entire
Yeah.
county. And
Yeah.
when you get your division down, it's 3.05. So
Yeah.
to me, that reads as
Rounding
4
error.
because
Right.
that's not something where you really can round down.
Right.
You should always round up.
What they continue to spit out, we're over budget, we're underutilized, and we're overstaffed.
Right.
I hear it, and I hear it, and I hear it.
But none of those things
Where-
are true.
Mister, are you getting that information?
Yeah.
I provided you stuff right here.
Yep.
On this sheet right here, a few years ago, we had 12 employees. Now we're down to 8. We've done plenty of our part, reducing people to try to get to where we are today, okay? These are facts.
Mm-hmm.
I gave you the scenario on hours on another one here. We need 2 people here at all the times
Yes.
for safety reasons, and that's where all this started about a month ago.
Correct.
to have two people here all of the time, and I've given you the hours of each one of us, I've given you how much vacation each one of us give. What I can't factor in is sick time. Bringing this back, we need 4 people here. 2 people can be gone at any point in time on vacation, basically, or time off. There's 2 people gone every week just for vacation, or 2 days a week just for vacation by this formula. So you've got to take big numbers. We don't need to schedule for them to say, oh, Alan, you're working this, Rebecca, you're working this, Terry, you're working this. No, that's the manager's job. Don't even take me there.
Oh, is that the human services provider?
Yeah, for where all of this came down to. So taking 4 people and doing this, even my scenario of 59 hours, the top one on the left here, is 222 hours, so you're basically breaking even. That is hiring the other full-time person and replacing Jeff. If you take that away, not good. We can't fit it. With those 2 people here, somebody can even call in sick on that, or you're filling it up the way the week with your part-time people. We still continue to only have 1 person here at times. You can't help it. Cannot help it. Because we don't have enough staff. We need the other person.
Other staff member, I think
Yes,
it becomes.
We need the other person. You hear the underutilized, and I've given you a form here. Back in last year, when all of this was going on in 23, I took the 23 budget and pulled all of this information together and showing you similar number of employees for departments and what they have for their salaries, what that is, percentages of that budget, what their total expenses are, the number of employees. If you take the number of employees and you divide it out by those employees, we are the least expensive department in all 8 or 7 of these departments. Per person, we're the least one. And that is including the 8th person, which we don't have.
So
I do not get why over budget, why underutilized, and why understaffed. I don't get it because they're not using facts.
well, they're not. You
They're
need
spouting.
one. You need one more. If we're understanding correctly from this, just to clarify it, for like
Replace Jeff.
replacing Jeff,
Correct.
replacing that position would
Yes.
make it skeletal. Would complete a skeletal system.
Yes,
in other words,
correct.
because the
Now,
carbs
dropping
are
to
done.
the 45 hours, if we still attempt to get the job done here and process what we're going to do, they're not saving any money other than maybe not have the lights on as long. Maybe the heat's reduced more hours that we're not here. We still have the same people. You still have the same wages. We're almost completely wage. And what are they going to save?
Yeah.
They're not.
That's a very good. That's an
To-
excellent point.
To continue with budget stuff. This morning I input my 2025 budget. Never since I've been here, as I've input budget, has I been able to see payroll. Today it's there.
Oh, really?
They have eliminated 1 staff on the 25 payroll. And I just got done, you can see I just printed this at 11:30, because I just got my budget done. So here is the final column where they have added, well, you won't see the individual stuff because
No,
I
we
have
don't
to
want to.
advance it
Yeah, we
to
don't want to see
accounting.
individuals.
Once I advance to accounting, you can't see it. But in the last column, you will see where they have taken away the position of Jeffrey already. Hasn't been in a public meeting, hasn't been voted on. Nothing has happened, but of course, them telling the accountant, remove the position of Jeff and don't put it in the budget.
Alan, do they normally vote on number of employees per department? I don't think that's ever
No.
part of any
No, but this is
official
clear
meeting.
that they've
I mean,
taken away
I
a full-time
just
person.
wondered,
You can
yeah.
see it in the salaries, you can see it in the hospitalization, everything
Wait a
in there.
minute.
All of those categories for payroll, which are page 1 and then go back to page 3, toward the bottom, your FICA, medical insurance and everything. are reduced.
But I don't know that
And I
they,
was also told our insurance is gonna go higher this year
Health
by
insurance.
Dan. Health insurance will go quite a bit higher this year
Yeah,
based on what they already
Yeah.
know. And they already know it, or they couldn't put it in the budget. They already know what it's gonna be. Of course, they don't approve the budget till December. So it won't get put out to nobody until those times where they release that information. But they've already taken a position away.
I
My budget.
wanted to say I spoke with Leah last Friday, and she gave us an opening. I asked her to put a pin in it until we could have the board meeting here. She gave us a meeting with the commissioners on this September 30th at 1:30 p.m. I asked her something the last week in September because it would be before. Now, that has to be voted on about whether or not we would attend or want to attend, but that would be an opportunity to present this.
Whole scenario.
Well,
to
also,
them.
and present that you seem to have
it's-
eliminated a position without any discussion.
Correct.
That's not holding to the status quo that you promised to honor at this
Status
meeting,
quo,
this
yes.
meeting, this
Yes,
meeting.
correct.
So until
Correct.
the consultants gave the consultant was hired and gave a report.
Right.
And that's guaranteed, that's gonna take a
Generally, we don't
minimum
get our
of-
actual appointment to go down and go over our budget until the middle of October.
that's
Okay.
what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, middle of October, they call a week or two ahead of time and set up meetings and make them work to however all parties can make it fit in. So they have a few days blocked to make them all fit in and work it the best they can for everybody.
Mhm.
If they're changing budget items as a group, the commissioners, they should probably be doing that in public instead of in private.
Well,
So it's weird that
my
made any
understanding
changes.
of the process is that each department presents their budget. You've already forwarded it, you said. Have you forwarded the
Just
budget?
this morning, I sent in what mine
Yeah,
is.
yeah, and our
But-
committee did meet. We had a budget, we had a.
But again, I
budget
can't
meeting.
put in any salary information
Right,
or
right.
payroll information
Right.
at all.
Right,
It happened to be there today where I could see it, and it
Yeah.
never, ever has been there
Yeah, you
before
said
where I
it
could
never
see
was
it. And now
available.
printing this,
uh-huh,
it's all right here and you can see it, so,
uh-huh. So he's forwarded it, and then,
yes.
as he mentions, in October, you'll go and say, defend what you have
Correct.
requested.
Yes.
And then
And they will hand us
The
something similar to
commissioners-
this right here, what I just handed you.
office will put together the budgets for the county, and
Right.
then it's public inspection for 30 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the process.
Yep.
So,
Could you clarify, did you put in the information that we
Yes, all the
Yeah,
information that we
the
had
same
in our,
thing,
in our
just
meeting, yes.
take 2024 and add 2%, right?
Yes. No, I can't put that in. I can't put in anything salary.
no,
and
he didn't
payroll,
put any of
2%.
the salaries
That's-
because he
that's
said.
what I-
So
that's where I
So
used
you were not
2%.
allowed to put that in at all?
He didn't have
That's
the
where I
knowledge.
changed it to 2%, so we have an idea of where payroll is.
Okay.
In our worksheet is where I had the 2%,
Okay.
just as a worksheet.
Right.
The others, we go line by line and pick what we want to
So
put
they
in.
don't even allow you to put that in anymore?
He didn't have the
No.
knowledge before. He was never
Oh, no, it
given
was
those
already in there,
numbers.
and I can't
before.
put it in. I can't put in anything payroll. I just put in our other things. When I punched the button today and did it, I had entered $72,000 for expenses, that's it.
Huh.
That's all I get through control.
Because you said you never
Yeah.
had that information,
Yeah, no,
FICA and
no.
unemployment and all
Yep,
those things.
no, all of our
He
other
never
categories here are
previously had
72,000.
access to that.
So,
Well, you've set up a meeting, those members who would like
I
to
didn't, yeah,
attend.
I set up the possibility of
A
one. just
tentative.
Yeah, a tentative meeting,
Well,
so.
if your committee would like to attend, I was letting the process go forward that the commissioners have set in place. I don't know if that new RFP has gone out to whoever it's sent to. I don't know
It
if
has
that's
not been.
gone out, but you
We
said,
asked about that yesterday.
okay, so it hasn't
And
gone
they have
out
not
yet.
put it
so-
out, and they stood by their decision to want to drop the hours to 45.
Mhm.
and there was no discussion about personnel.
Mhm.
But I just left it at that because I knew we'd be talking about it.
And their RFP, as it was given to them to go out, they even said, well, we haven't even reviewed it yet.
Exactly, they said that the last 2
Because I
meetings.
knew a new one was
Yeah.
being created, but has that been shared, the new RFP?
No.
been
No, they
shared
said
yet?
they were gonna
Because I
put it
know there
out
were two.
publicly before they
Has not.
posted it,
Uh-huh.
but whether they will or won't. So even if they'll ever put it out,
Yeah,
it's still unknown at this point.
Closing a day, and when we talked that, and in reference to the meeting, and when it was presented to us by HR and the accountant, Dan, when they were out, basically was threw out as, what's your slowest day? Can't you close on that day?
Mm-mm.
And we just said, slowest day usually is Friday. Can't we work closing that day? That creates lots of complications. One, it's a area of the county. Towanda and Monroe are already closed, so you're taking away library service in a pretty large area by not having that. Two, if you have full-time people, now how are you planning? And again, I bring it back because Rebecca's the one that schedules how we should be working. You've now taken away a day of trying to fit in full-time people's hours, let alone service for the community. To me, that is just crazy to think that you want to close a day.
I feel that dropping to 45 hours is not only a terrible mistake, but I feel as though it's a deliberate effort to squeeze out existing staff.
well, I think it's a state regulation. The 45 hours is the state regulation, and it's what the other libraries adhere to, and they may even be less than that, I'm not sure, but 45 hours is the state regulation.
It's the lowest, but it's the state regulation of the lowest amount of hours
But-
that you can be open.
But if
It's
that's
not,
what you're going to be able to function with,
but
you know, I don't know, that's the
There
state
are other parts
regulation,
of that.
that's where the 45 hours
There
comes from.
were, the BCL being a central library and a system, they have different regulations. And you've read it the
It's
same as I have.
confusing.
It's confusing.
It's
And
confusing.
it also goes to state aid.
Yeah, it's all tied
So
in with that, right?
They
State aid.
actually said in the meeting yesterday that they were trying to get some feedback from somebody.
Heather Sharp. at
Heather Sharp,
the,
yeah.
Head library office
Right.
of education.
State library,
in the
state
next
library.
state, yes.
So they were
Director.
trying to get some clarification
Clarification.
from her office.
So,
But they have said, I mean, not yesterday, but the meeting before, they said that they weren't going to do anything with the library until after the consultant had been hired and, put in their report.
so I
And
think
then
we're
they
fortunate
do
that
this.
they have been allowing us to stay open for the 65 hours. So I think that part has been adhered to because we
But-
haven't reduced any hours other than, I believe, we have a waiver for the Saturday
We
hours,
had-
which
yeah,
all the
that's
libraries.
we're now back to 3 o'clock.
Right.
So we're now back.
Yeah, we're
So
back.
that's summer
That was a
solstice.
10 week.
Yeah, okay, so
Yep.
that's
We're back.
over now. So I think we're still at 65 hours then, right, Ellen?
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
But we're talking about moving forward and not
right.
what they've done. So if this is their plan to start in January, it's
I
not,
don't know.
well, if
Yeah,
they're setting the
don't know.
budget, but if
Right,
they're setting the
right,
budget and they're
right.
already dropping a
Right,
position, then they're not holding to the status quo. I will, an RFP is usually at least 30, if not 60 days to allow for people to respond with a proposal.
I
And
imagine, I don't know.
if they don't, what's going to be interesting is if they don't get a response. If they don't get a
Like last
response.
time.
I don't think we
Right.
got a response the first time, did
No,
they?
no,
Back in
I don't
April.
think so. And a consultant is an expensive proposition.
Right.
And I
understand.
think that was thrown out there before a lot of people really thought about, before it was thrown out as an idea before the enormity of what a kind of financial commitment and time commitment that actually entails. And that's my concern, is that a consultant, someone doing a consultant, it's not a quick study. It's a minimum of 6 months and most likely would be a year because you would want to track all seasons and seasonal usage, ebb and flow in order to truly understand it. It's not going to be a month. It's not going to be 4 months or 3 months. It's not going to be a quarter. They're going to want to look at it. It doesn't mean that somebody will be sitting here the whole time. They'll come and go and run reports and numbers, but that project would probably, my guess is that it would be a year. I could be extremely wrong.
You're very likely right, and they're not just looking at this library. The way Commissioner McLinko keeps talking, he's talking about revamping the entire library system and having this consultant.
You've just jumped up to 2 years and about
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
over $500,000.
Yeah, this is, and the first RFP was basically tell us how to do this thing that we want to do.
And that's
And that's why nobody took it. From my understanding of talking to various people in the know, nobody wanted to touch something that was tell us what we want to hear. They didn't want anything to do with it.
okay.
This new one's not supposed to be like that, but from my understanding, the last one wasn't supposed to be either, but it was heavily edited. And so the worry is that maybe that's going to happen again. So we're 3-4 months before somebody responds, potentially, if anybody responds, and then maybe a year or 2 years before that's done, if anybody responds.
It's my understanding, one of the consultants who could have given a proposal has been in communication with the 2 librarians that have put this RFP together for the commissioners now. In fact, Rebecca had talked to her even prior, way back last year, through all of this process and going through it. So I know that somebody who could make a bid on it and work for the county in doing that has been in some communication with people in about it.
Okay.
So
And if they go forward with the RFP that's written the way it is, it's very possible that consultant or other ones
that
will.
consultant may have behind the scenes actually help them
Yeah.
with the material to put in it to make it right, and so that they will actually get a bid on something that they're trying to do.
And I think
So-
I heard one time that they're talking about this being a multi-stage RFP.
I've heard 3
So-
stages, so
Three?
So
3 stages.
You guys have the knowledge on this, I don't.
it could
say
be,
that.
I mean, you could be looking at,
Multi-stage, yes.
Yeah, I've
first
heard-
part could
I've
be a
heard
couple of
3.
years, the second part could be a couple of years. And you could be looking at $1 million for the RFPs, depending on what they're all trying to do. Because with this being a county library and the headquarters, it is not just as simple as what happens if we eliminate it, or what happens if we make it a nonprofit. Because it's the library that's supposed to hold all the other libraries together in the sense of nobody has to compete with this library for funding or anything like that. If there's a need for master's degrees, if there needs to be 4 and there's only 2, this is the library that says, hey, we can pick up that because we're funded by the government. So we're able to handle that so you guys don't have to worry about that. What's going to happen to the other libraries if this is knocked out of that category? And then if the first stage is yes, you should go to a nonprofit. The second stage would be, how in the world do we do that? Because this building's owned by the county. So does it get leased? How much does it get leased for? How long? This could be a very long process. And if they're making changes now to the budget, when they've been saying that they wouldn't, how far is this going to go till there's hardly no staff left? And they say, well, we don't have to worry about closing the library because it's already closed. And how much that's going to damage the other libraries trying to function without this competing with them.
Did you also pick
their
up-
first quote, clear back at last August, in all the information that was in a meeting prior to August 31st when they told me and Rebecca that they were going to close us down. They had already stated they would keep the bookmobile going, and that cost is around $200,000 just to do that. Well, I don't know where they pulled all of those numbers for, and why did they come up with $200,000? number one, you got a vehicle and all it's going, and you've got an employee, and you should have a backup employee, and you have to have a librarian. But can those three people run the bookmobile, have the required materials to even do it, and keep that going? My opinion is no, but anyway.
Yeah, without a
And more
library
money,
backing
yeah.
up the
That's
bookmobile,
keeping the
it's-
bookmobile going. They already said they would do that. Wow, they're just shooting their feet off. It's crazy to not provide the service out here. Who wants to close the library? Anybody in here want to close the library? No, it's crazy.
And with the
In
bookmobile,
anybody's right mind, it's, sorry.
if the bookmobile's out on its own, trying
She
to
said yesterday, he
Yeah.
wants to
move out
take
of the
that,
system.
take that out of the,
System isn't gonna take
Yeah.
the bookmobile. They don't own one book.
Right, they would have to create an agreement with all the libraries
Yes.
in order for the bookmobile to take
And
books
that's
from the library. They'd all have to be specially referenced because you couldn't just pile 3 books into the bookmobile
Right.
and know which library they came from without a whole lot of extra
Yeah.
work. And the system doesn't really have any money, so all the libraries would have to start chipping in. They're already having a hard time functioning for some of them. Some of them are doing great, but
Some of their thoughts make no sense.
some of the libraries are struggling. So when they say, well, this library only has 1 employee and they're only making $20,000 a year, that's because the library's struggling and there's people in the community trying to keep it going. You just can't be like, well, that's good enough, and say, this library can do the same thing. The point of this library is so those libraries that are struggling can just keep going, even as they're struggling, because there's someplace taking some of the weight off of them, like the bookmobile.
So Carol, was that discussed yesterday at the system?
Next week is our system
Oh,
meeting.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, at the last meeting, did they talk about the bookmobile being added to the system? Oh, I thought
No.
somebody said that, okay. I was gonna say, because I hadn't heard that.
I think it's really important that we as a committee protect the services that have been established, they run well, and go forth in meeting with the commissioners, because what you're presenting is not good. So, whatever we need to
Get
do
my
to do
son
that.
from
Okay.
school.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
could we do an initial, before you leave, Ashley, is anyone interested in going to this meeting, in actually going forward with this meeting on September 30th at
We said at
1:30?
1:30.
So Monday,
So Monday, September 30th at 1:30?
I would love to go, but again, my time constraints.
Okay,
I have to get my son at 2, he really gets out of school
okay.
2:30 at the latest.
If I
can't
could
leave
ask
him
her
at
if it could be
preschool.
moved to the morning,
If they
would that
can
be
move
better?
it to the morning, I could be, yeah, that's
me see what I
easier.
can do.
Morning is
if they
always,
move it to the morning, I have
Yeah.
a problem.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Well, I mean, I could get around it, but I wouldn't get much sleep the night before, because I'm going to an event down in Lancaster that
Okay.
weekend, and it goes until Sunday night.
I see.
Oh.
So I can drive back.
But you would be
I
driving
get in
back and
late,
stumbling
so-
into a meeting
But if
exhausted.
that's what it takes,
Yeah,
Maybe
Well,
there's another day.
Let me see, that was the only one she gave me, so I
Oh.
think it's because it's a federal election year that
Okay.
they're kind of,
Oh,
I think
Yeah.
people are all over the place. Let me see what I can find out
Okay,
and I'll
sounds
send
and
you
if
an
that's what you
Yeah.
can get, then I will,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll make it a point to get back.
Okay,
yeah, as long as
So-
I'm able, if I'm, yeah.
okay, let me see what I
I'll see you guys
else
soon.
what I can get from her.
okay, so why don't you,
Go ahead and
when
ask.
you make that connection, send that
I'll
information
call her
around.
before I leave today.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so, I think it would be, I see it as a good idea. I am concerned that with all of the stress and everything going on, that Rebecca will start looking at another forms of employment. Because when you go down to 45 hours, you start cutting staff hours. You are going to start there won't be full-time positions. They'll be cutting hours of the staff, and people aren't going to stay around. The cost of living is too high to try, and juggling 2 jobs is, as anybody who's ever done it knows, is very, very difficult. And so if you start removing full-time positions and changing them, and then you don't have a director, and then you don't have an assistant director, you've got a problem. And if there's a promise, I do feel that we should hold them to their promise, their very public promise of sticking to the status quo. It's not asking for more than they offered. We're not asking for more. We're asking them to hold it. And it's really, it's claiming that it's a waste of money and that it's over budgeted has been proven to not really be the case. It's not, this library is not a waste of money, and it's not underutilized, it is utilized. I mean, I'm not sure why they're so, I still don't really understand completely why they're so determined to cut out this library, but it has been shown that it is a vital part of the county. I mean, it's an important for the county, and I think that the absence of adult programs and evening programs has been apparent and stark and missed. You know, we aren't offering programs at the library that I don't see them anymore online. As an author came, this was I think it's a problem, and I think that trying to have this library function the way it should function, it's been shown in the last 14 months that it's impossible to do it without an additional staff member to take over those things. It's not having a director switching around the elements of jobs is not unheard of. I mean, it happens all the time now.
People get reassigned duties all the time.
Absolutely, and so to have a director that handled children's programming as well as outreach, and then an assistant, instead of the assistant handling that the assistant would handle collections, growth and development, as well as adult programming would be fine, and would also be another warm body in the for the hours. I think cutting even a day is such an insignificant, as Alan has pointed out quite accurately, even just one day, if not, cutting those hours is such an insignificant. It's an insignificant, if the commissioners' rallying cry is saving money, they're gutting services without actually really saving any significant amount of money, and that's a huge concern. So they don't line up, I guess is the most polite way I can think of to say it. You're not really saving money, you're just gutting services. And I think speaking to them and with non-confrontationally and explaining that and going through it and really entreating them to listen, to look at these scenarios and listen. It might not be what you want to hear, but what is. And I think that's something, everybody at some point in their life is going to have to hear something that they don't want to hear. That the idea of what they've come up with in their head, it's kind of like, I know I'm going out on a limb here, but and a little bit of a risk, but I think the original RFP is a good example of you're asking for something, you're trying you're asking somebody to make something exactly like you said. You're asking somebody to make something that you want, not something that's practical or even really possible or even effective. And what do? You save $475,000 by losing the library completely. But what do you lose? And it's not just losing this building. As has been stated, you're losing the structure for an entire county, and that's a pretty serious thing. We are a far-flung county. I mean, I'm the newcomer here. I mean, I've been coming here since 1991, but I've lived here since 2012, and it wasn't, I don't know, until about 5 years ago that I started really traveling the county, and it's not stopping to smell the roses. It's 3 hours from the southwest to the northeast corner. I mean, 3 hours of, and that's being as efficient as humanly possible. It's a vast amount of territory to cover.
Yes. And sorry, I was just kind of
that's all.
I'm going to jump in with and that's why the bookmobile service is so vital.
Oh, yeah.
It's so vital.
Such a great thing for all ages. And
it is.
In addition to coming here, but just
to take the
reaches
services
all
out.
corners.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not, you know, and I think as a rural community, we face complete, and Pennsylvania, as they say, is, you know, it's a giant farm with two cities on either side. And it really is, and a lot of people don't understand that. And when I said I was moving here, and this is just anecdotal, but when I said that I was moving here, I was embarrassed and kind of ashamed to hear how many friends that I had who I thought were smart in Philadelphia who really thought that cows produced milk the way chickens produce egg. And that, when I heard that, I just...
Put out a quart at that time.
Yeah, kind of like you just sort of go over like it's a Frigidaire and you get your... I mean, I don't know what they thought. I don't think they were quite that bad, but I said no, because I was explaining about, you know, spending some time at a friend's dairy farm and saying, oh, we were working on breedback schedules, and that was I haven't done that in 25 years, and I forgot. I realized how much I forgot, and they didn't know what I was talking about, and they asked, and the answer was, well, wait a minute, they what? And I said, no, they have to be pregnant for a great deal of their lives, and you have to stop so they don't get sick, and you have to do this. And the big question, and, you know, I'm glad this is on tape, but the big question is, you know, what happens to the calves? And that's not a question that you really want to answer with a bunch of people who don't understand about veal barns.
Nobody wants to know how their food is made.
Nobody wants to know. Well, but everybody was in tears by the end of the conversation, you know, and I said, well, it was kind of fun. I got to feed calves. They were taken away from their mothers at 2 days old, and I was feeding them the colostrum for 2 weeks. And then they weren't there one day. Well, where did they go? And
Some of them, though, grow up to be
some
big
grow up to
cows.
be dairy cows. Yeah, some get dairy cows,
Some of them
but the
do.
boys don't. And it's kind of said, well, watch a couple videos on people who sex chickens, and then you'll see where that goes. You know, so yes, you're going to start looking at. Anyway, that's not the point of it. But if people don't understand, I guess the only reason I'm saying that is I think that a lot of people that make these decisions, not our commissioners obviously, but a lot of the people that make these decisions for rural communities really have no idea of the different unique challenges.
The geography.
It's not, I always laugh and say, it takes me the same amount of time to go 25 miles to work here as it did to go 5 miles to work in the city.
You're
and I
right.
was using back streets. I wasn't
Right.
sitting in traffic. I was just stopping at every single block. But
Yeah, right.
but it was still 35 minutes to get to work
Right.
and get home from work, even in the middle of the night.
Right.
And what they don't understand is that someone will be able to travel 40 minutes. And it made me think about how many parts of Philadelphia. I lived there for 25 years, and parts that I never went into. I lived in Montgomery County, parts that I never went into. I've been all over Bradford County at this point, you know, and I've seen it, not every square inch of it, but a good deal of it. And as a final thing about how vital that bookmobile support is, and knowing full well, and I would leave it with, I learned when I was working in film, one of the things that I learned very, very quickly from people who had done it and were a lot more savvy about it, that do not agree to just stop what you're doing and do this, because there's nothing on this earth that takes 5 minutes. There's nothing that just takes 5 minutes. Oh, just give me a hand for a sec. Unless you're doing this for about 5 minutes and holding something in place while someone puts screws into it, there's nothing that takes 5 minutes. You stop what you're doing, you prepare to do the next thing, then you stop that, and then you come back to this and start up again, and you're looking at an hour to 2 hours. There are very, very few things that really take that. So putting that, thank you for listening to me, but putting that to the bookmobile, saying, yep, we're going to keep the bookmobile. You're right, it's 3 people minimum to run that bookmobile. Right now, the bookmobile has the support staff and at least the support staff from
And the
this
supply of
library to
books.
follow, and the supply of books, and the staff that helps do it. Because if the bookmobile librarian had to come and restack and do everything, that's 3 people, at least 3 people. But if they're doing other things, it's like saying one person alone can accomplish a lot. 2 people that work really well to accomplish much more than 2 people. You know, they really, if they work their time correctly. We are so vital, and to try and give them a last plea of really laying out, I know this isn't what you want to hear, but you need to listen to it before you make these decisions, because it's not a threat in any shape or form, but Last year, when the decision was made to stay open, the county was about to riot. They were enraged that the library was being closed. That was proved. They've settled down, but if it starts to edge away again, they'll be riled back up. I'm not saying that, I'm going to go out there and do it, but they will. I mean, there's people that still have the support BCL signs out, and they'll leave them out until forever because they feel that it'll always be a threat, that it's being taken away. This is a very used library. It's a very, very important part of the community. And it's not to denigrate other community libraries at all. But as we know, it's Sayre is Sayre, Athens is Athens. Even Sayre and Athens right next to each other could never cooperate and agree to have one library between the two of them. And you don't even really, it's hard to cross the street and not know if you're in Sayre or Athens sometimes. Wait a minute, where am I now? So or South Waverly is a little more obvious, but that idea, and maybe some of the smaller outlying branches like Monroton or Canton are open less hours, but they're also way out. This is central, and that's the biggest thing. I like to say for our clinic in Rome, it's equally inconvenient. We like to leave it here because it's equally inconvenient for everyone.
Everybody.
But it is but if we move, and I promise I won't take up any more time, but if we moved, and I feel the same way about this library, and that is, they are the two major things that I focus on at this point, but I do see similarities that, for example, if we decided to leave where we are on 187 and move to Wysox, we would lose the entire southern tier of New York with that extra 10 miles. And they need us because there obviously isn't anyone there. We have people drive upwards of 2 hours to get to us because it's affordable care it's a service that they need. So people will drive here because it's a service that they need and something that they can see. It's something for the children to do, something for the adults to do. They can do something where there's a program. It's a highly functional place that needs to be helped to be made a bit more functional so that the staff can breathe. And I worry a lot, Alan, about burnout, and I think that this information proves that the staff is already in process of and is in danger of being burnt out because they just don't have enough. They need that extra person. Ideally, they need 2 extra part-time people, but they're not going to get that. So it's just not going to happen. I mean, unless the consultant says, hey, you need 2 extra part-time people, and then everybody's head's going to explode. But, I think at this point, it's important to say, and I say it again because I relate them a lot because I focus. I have a desk at work that's for library and I have a desk at work that's for clinic, and I move back and forth between the two of them as I need. And I see some of the things with reading and researching this. I watch my own staff. I have 9 people on staff, including myself, and I'm watching us all burn out. And we only do 4 10-hour days a week. Sometimes they turn into 12 or 15 hours. It depends on an emergency. But the point is that I'm watching us after 2.5 years burn out. And I'm trying to figure out how I can have relief people come in just to give people some time to breathe. And it's intense. It's intense. It's what you're doing, and everything takes time. Developing the collection, keeping abreast of the collection, keeping computers functioning, keeping Hoopla functioning and showing people how to use it, keeping programming relevant and attenuated to the needs of the community. It all takes time, and it all takes staff hours, Southampton. So, but I feel very passionate about it, and I feel that I hope that they'll listen. I feel that we have a shot. I think we should take a shot if we have it. I just don't want to go. I don't think we should just roll over and go down without a fight. Or not even a fight, just a discussion. It doesn't have to be a fight. I don't want to be confrontational or hostile. I don't think there's any need for that.
Well, I don't think you'd get anything by being hostile.
Absolutely.
You just have a rational explanation of your ideas.
And we're all worn out we're all worn out from being mad. So maybe it's the time when everybody's kind of just, okay, well, let's just talk about it. Mm-hmm. It's $475,000 to service this building and the community and have 5 full-time and 3 part-time staff members is not unreasonable. To have a functional true director and a functional assistant director to handle children's, having an office manager who isn't being pulled in other directions to be able to make this place function as seamlessly as it does is necessary. Anyway.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And as my
Anybody-
father would say, she'll never shut up and leave the office until you just give up. Sorry.
We're getting kind of worn down.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep. So I'm sorry, everybody. I really am sorry for that. I just got wound up this morning.
Okay, in our packet also, but I don't think we'll take it on today, notice that you do have a couple pages of a strategic plan, ideas 2025 to 2030. This has been on the books for a couple of years for us to work on. So why don't we look this over for the next meeting and see if you have any comments on it. It says adopted August 2024. Well, I didn't know we had taken.
I believe this is the system, isn't it?
Oh, is that the system?
Yes,
Oh,
I believe
okay.
it.
That's the, okay. I didn't see the logo.
There was
But we have also, we have mentioned that before. We need to do the strategic plan for this library because I think the existing one went through like 2024. So we need to redo that. So maybe that's something I'll ask Rebecca about when we return. And we did look at it a couple months ago. It was very brief. Okay, so this is, I see the logo now.
Should we suggest a meeting that covers just this at some point before the holidays really kick into gear?
We could have, let's get some guidance, do you think, from Rebecca on the strategic plan idea? I think
Okay.
we ought to ask her about it first, and then if she thinks we need, if we want to have a committee meet on a strategic plan, then we could form a committee.
Okay.
So I'm going to add that to the next agenda.
Okay.
Also, by the new bylaws adopted today, we have election of officers in the last meeting of the year, which will be November. So that will be something that will be added. And I had put that in by mistake when I had put the wrong date, so then I removed that. So
Okay.
just for your knowledge, you'll have election of officers.
Okay.
In November.
Okay. I have a question. I don't know if this, I think it might fall under new business or it just falls under.
Okay.
Is Linda Warner coming or does she?
Well, I'm going to call her as soon as I
Okay.
get home.
Okay,
You
thank
know,
you. I'm
and
sorry. I
see,
missed that
because
part
I
of the
think
meeting.
she's missed 3 meetings.
This would be the third one.
Yeah, and so according to our bylaws, that would put her off the board. But I'll just inquire of her welfare.
Okay.
And
I was going to say, did you want to find out if she planned to return at some point? And then.
I'm going to call her today.
Thank you.
3 unexcused, so.
Well, and she hasn't reported
Yeah.
that she was not attending, so that is unexcused.
Okay.
Maybe there's a reason though.
There might be a reason. Yeah. Okay, anything else for the good of the whole? Okay, so we'll adjourn the meeting, and our next meeting will be November 14th here at 1 o'clock.
Okay.